I'd like to now shift your attention to someone you probably would have run into without your knowledge as you arrived in New Delhi. This person is responsible for the beautiful stonework, the stonework that you walked on, all the renovations that took place at the Indira Gandhi International Airport. Her name is Kanika Dewan, and she's a Guinness World Record holder, designer, founder of KA Design Atelier, and president of the Bramco Group. Kanika will enlighten us on how we can put each piece together to create breakthroughs. And you know, as she comes up here, I just have one little thought in my mind, and I'd like to ask her to address that. You know, India is known as the home of jugaad. You know, jugaad is a word that we use very frequently in local parlance, and for those of you who don't understand what it means, it's really a lot of innovation. It's innovative, out-of-the-box thinking, and you know, when we talk about jugaad, I'm trying to figure out from Kanika whether you, as you know, a person of Indian origin, use that technology that we are seen to be blessed with. Jugaad, do you use that for your breakthrough solutions? So just keep that in your mind when you come up and make the presentations. We'll start with a film that Kanika has. So if we can have the video run, please.
That will be a second.
Okay, you want to go up and say something?
Thank you. So since we have 15, just before, I'm not counting this as my 6 minutes, but since we have 15 years for the SDGs, I just request a little more than 6 minutes for this. So I'm going to try my best, though, given the daunting task of completing. 7 billion in 7 days. This was the Global Goals campaign, as you know, that Richard Curtis, the director, spearheaded in 2015 to use media to reach the world's population and leave no one behind as being part of the SDGs, the 17 SDGs. A perfect plan, because awareness is the first step to implementation. So let's see how we fared 700 days later. And we have a little video to let you know what happened 700 days later, which was about 2 days ago.
And Columbia University for my master's. I work as a financial analyst. If you ask me what the Sustainable Energy Development Goals are, I would have to tell you I don't know the specifics off the top of my head. If you give me a second, I'll be able to Google it for you.
आपने कभी सुना इस बारे में? नहीं.
I am not aware of that.
Do you have any idea what they could be?
No, I had just heard that just now.
I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm a film editor, and I had never heard of the UN Sustainability Goals and have no idea what those goals are aiming to achieve. Yeah, it's a shame. I would like to know what they're trying to do.
I'm a medical doctor. I'm also a PhD student, and my name is Angela, and I don't know what sustainable development is at all.
इसके बारे में मैं तो सोचता हूँ कुछ हो हमारे देश के लिए. अब मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, अनपढ़ आदमी हूँ, कुछ भी नहीं कर सकता हूँ.
तो किसको करना चाहिए? कोई प्रधान? We can just cut it. So basically, we've done a cross-section of population to tell you what they think the Sustainable Development Goals. This was about 2 days ago, 700 days later, and our aim was 7 billion people in 7 days. So what I would like to know is how many of us have actually spoken in the last 2 days to our driver, to the person who served your food or in a restaurant about what the SDGs are? Because if we did, it took me 5 minutes to interview 10 people, now 10 people know. We cut the video earlier. But if you take 1 minute and spend 1 day, 365 days later, if there's more than 300 people here, you can imagine that we definitely reach 7 billion people in less than 7 days, in less than 700 days. So that was easy. So we've achieved our plan. We have got a solution here. We've got an innovative solution. Everyone do their part, tell someone. So, and then we'll achieve the goals. Is it that easy? I don't think so, because it's not just about awareness. India is a perfect example. 19th December 2012, the death of Jyoti Singh that Vibha talked about, who in a mere 3 days gave birth to a nation of consciousness towards the atrocities and inhumanities that women have been facing in India, a country where we've spent billions on worshipping Durga, a goddess which is known to be extremely powerful. How did this happen in a country that has idolized SDG 5, giving equal or more importance to women even before man existed? November 2016, the levels of pollution were declared as severe compared to any other city in the world, and making involuntary action of breathing almost impossible in a country where our greatest export is the pranayam, which is a breathing technique for our health and well-being. So we were satisfying SDG 13 and 3 even before the SDGs existed. What happened since 2015? India has clearly had an awareness of these goals for eons, but it's far from achieving them in accordance with what we envision. The cliche answer that everyone always gives, oh, India is complex, that's why we haven't got there. The population, we've got huge populations, mass populations are educated. As long as we educate them, once we work on SDG 4, they will understand and we'll all be fine. It's more the uneducated class that doesn't know, and then we'll get there. So then, why is it that when I was doing the design and build for the Mumbai International Airport, and I wanted to facilitate employing women who'd gone through rehab after being trafficked, and they were trained as women masons, I wanted to have them on board. But guess what? The ownership team, we always work directly with the owners, what did they say? Oh, sorry, we can't do that. And I said, why? And basically, they've been renowned for philanthropy and supporting the SDGs. And when I asked them why, they said, we'll have to build toilets for women. It's too much of a hassle. Another example. Why is it that at the Mumbai International Airport, my construction manager who almost had a heart attack, was not supported? We were asked to go to the police asked for a bribe, we have a no-bribe policy, but we had to literally lie and tell him we would bribe him, and we didn't later, just so that he could get out of being surrounded by a bunch of workers and being locked in a room. The owners did not support us because it was a Sunday and they couldn't spare their Sunday for humanity. So what is the solution? There's clearly a gap, there's a big gap in arriving at our utopian vision, what we envision to be utopia. So what are the solutions? Well, we're very blessed with the current social and economic and political factors that we're currently facing. That is actually one of the solutions. If you look at the next slide, if you look at the first slide, this is our solution. I'm telling you, I know it sounds a bit odd. Maybe it's a homeopathic approach, but in my opinion, the disease itself will create a disruption, mobilize a global population towards the cure itself. We don't have to wait till World War III. We've created self-destruction, and we're going to be fed up with it ourselves. We're going to create the change that we desire. And here is my projected model. If we can have the next slide. So here we have on one side, we have an island of devastation, and on the other side, we have our happy island, which is our utopia, which has adopted all the SDGs, all the 17 goals of the SDGs. And we're fine. So all we have to do is get on a ship. We're going to be motivated and empowered as each individual can. People are going to forget about leadership because that's what we need to do. We need to look at our own uniqueness and see how we can idealize and give the world what we can offer as individuals, how each driver, how each mason, and all of us can do that. So what they have to do is just get into a little ship and get across the ocean. Well, how do we do that? Well, one of the issues is we need to have a good radar. So that's the model we've created. What is this radar? How do we innovate? And what do we have to do in terms of the land of Jagar? What should we do? Well, first of all, we need to renovate. We don't have to reinvent, but we need to renovate. For example, we need to renovate the way we're thinking about SDGs. What is the goal of SDGs? It has a goal. It's not the SDGs themselves. And that's why we're seeing a discrepancy and contradictions. We're seeing people wanting to do something but following them as individual goals versus interconnected web, which goes towards a final goal. We're all trying to achieve a final goal here. And what is that goal? It's a goal that's common to us all, which is happiness, which is why we're going to the island of happiness. So I would rephrase the SDGs and start promoting them as goals towards sustainable happiness. That's something that points to all of us, and all of us think about it. So the first R in radar, we've already gone across, accountability. We really need to be accountable to create local goals for global goals. So localized global goals. An example of this is FDI. I was sitting next to someone at the Wharton India Economic Forum, and we were meant to speak over there, and one of the main speakers said, oh, I'm doing so much work in India, I've really been recognized for all the work I've been doing. And I said, oh, really? So how do you deal with the corruption over there? Well, you know, we have agents. You have to do as the Romans do. So that is where I mean accountability. You're not going towards the SDGs. One of the root causes of a lot of the SDGs not being achieved is corruption. And we need to be accountable. So when we go to other countries, we actually need to adopt local goals. The Prime Minister's, one of the local goals are anti-corruption. So when people from abroad, like many of you come here, we need to adopt the local goals and globalize them. And corruption is one of them, not be part of them. Definition. We do need to redefine what our actual goals are. How are we defining leave no one behind? How are we defining a population of 7 billion people? 7 billion does not incorporate the animal kingdom. Does it incorporate dogs? Does it incorporate cats? No. But you know what? To achieve health and wellness, we're now using dogs. We're now incorporating them for healing, for cancer healing. We're not including them. We live in an ecosystem. We're talking about the ocean, we're talking about land, but we need to really focus more on something greater, thinking out of the box. Asset-based thinking and awareness, education and awareness, exactly what we talked about. Talk to one person for 1 minute per day about what you're talking about. And then we come to the final reward system. We need to start rewarding small businesses. We need to start rewarding this individual rather than sitting and talking in conferences like us, we're leaders, we're talking, we're happy that we have a sense of purpose. What are we rewarding? Press rewards those who achieve. You've got to achieve, you've got to be larger, and then you get a reward. But you need to actually be talking to the people who make up the system. So change the reward system. Reward failure, reward someone who's smaller. Well, now that we've got that, how do we actually get across the mountain? So there was a big mountain, you need to carve a big hole through the mountain. How do we get across? Well, we came up with a little matrix that I want to leave you with, which is the spiritual quotient and the intensity of intention. We need a lot of power, physics, force times distance. The intensity of intention, which goes further, we need to look into spiritual awareness and look at the spiritual index, which is intention, compassion, and ethics, so that we achieve sustainable happiness, eventually, to achieve those goals. And we're not contradicting ourselves, like I told you earlier. How do we get there? Well, we've actually created a small model, and that's what I wanted to speak to what Rini said and end with that, which is we've actually working on a concept of a model village where it's called the Sustainable Happiness Village. There's a happiness index, but it's not enough. You need to be sustainable. This is a village with self-sustaining housing. You're generating power from your toilet to your roof. You're using plants to generate electricity. And you're creating an ecosystem of health and wellness, going back to the roots, Ayurveda, under one little village. We're taking a model village to do that. And we're going to be measuring a new index called the spiritual index, which will show you from poverty, zero hunger, to growth. And we encourage governments to start using the spiritual index as an index for the economic indicator. So I wanted to leave you with that as a thought. Ban Ki-moon is often quoted to have said that there is no plan B because there is no planet B. And with this innovative thinking and a new approach of thinking out of the box, I would like to leave you with the following, that there is no plan B because we can create planet B. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, Kanika, for sharing with us your thoughts on how we can accelerate that innovation and also accept new types of collaborations to go beyond the change as usual and set us on a course for the much needed systemic breakthroughs across the SDGs.